Well, welcome everyone to each of our presenters who will participate in the Stomp Out Stress Better Health for the Entrepreneur Virtual Summit. Yay, I said it all in once with no breath. How about that? I'm so excited to have some question and answer time today with Dr. Desiree Van Bogart, with Stephanie Ewals, with Coach Heather, and with Kelly Silbernagel, because each of these ladies have something to share with you about the importance of health and wellness. And what better time to talk about that than in January, when so many of us are kicking off New Year's goals and resolutions to live better, healthier, smarter, and stronger, right? So I'm gonna have a couple questions for each of you today. And Heather, if you don't mind, I'd love to start with you.
Sure.
Fantastic. So you have the esteemed privilege of having an Herbalife nutrition shop and helping educate everyone who walks through your door about the role that nutrition plays in better health and wellness. So I have a couple questions for you in that regard, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So my first one for you, how does eating strengthen our immune health? Because that's a big part to our overall physical health, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. What we put into our bodies is so important. And so many people overlook the value of just good, solid nutrition and feeling good and staying healthy. So obviously, we all learn when we're little, there's all kinds of vitamins and minerals and nutrients in the world and in the foods that we eat. But you know what? There's more in some foods than others, and there's none in some foods, which is interesting to note. So our immune system is it's guided a lot by basically, let's feed our bodies exactly what they need so that they can perform at an optimal level and fend off any bad things that are trying to infiltrate. So, you know, you've got your viruses that are all floating around out there. Everyone's either sick with something or trying real hard not to be right now. But things like antioxidants, you know, your vitamins A, C, and E, super important with helping our body fight off different things that can be coming at us from any direction. Staying hydrated, water, so very important in making sure that we're able to fight things off, stay hydrated, keep things flushing through our system. But little things like that, probiotic health, super important, making sure that our gut is healthy and that we get the things that we need down there so that that can help fight off and strengthen our immune system as well. So all kinds of great things that we can eat and drink that will help strengthen our immune system.
Isn't it amazing that what tastes good on our tongue has such an effect on every cell in our body?
Absolutely.
So when we're talking about eating healthy and eating well, there's a logic to that. And then comes the reality of the entrepreneur who is busy and always has something to do. What are some tips that you have for meal prepping for the busy person?
Yes, gosh, meal prepping can save us so much time on the back end just by investing a little on the front end. And I personally keep my meal prepping so simple. I am not the person that goes out and buys all the matching containers and lays them all out on the counter and portions everything out. And some people do that, and that's wonderful if they can make that work for them. I, on the other hand, to keep things simple and quick, we like to pick one day a week. It's usually Sunday. And we'll prepare a lot of our lean proteins for the week. So maybe that means we're going to bake up or grill up, depending on the season, Minnesota, you know, we'll make up a bunch of maybe say chicken breasts, or we also like to have fish on hand. So my husband will bake some salmon, different things like that, maybe turkey meatballs. So some good lean protein sources to have. And then we also like to do a vegetable of choice. So maybe we might bake some broccoli and cauliflower and asparagus, or maybe we're going to saute up in some healthy oils. We're going to make some different colored bell peppers and onions and mushrooms. And so then we'll keep those in a container. And then we like to choose our healthy carbohydrate, because carbohydrates are super important too. It's where we get our energy from. So we might do a brown rice quinoa blend, for instance, or my husband has now mastered the art of healthy mashed sweet potatoes, and we'll keep those in the fridge. So then when I go to prepare for my next day, I literally will take a little container from the pantry. I'll choose my protein. I'll choose a little of the vegetable. I'll choose a little bit of my carbohydrate, snap it up, and I'm on my way to go. Sometimes I eat it cold. I don't mind cold salmon or cold chicken. Sometimes I'll warm it up at work. But either way, that's a tip. And the only other thing I can say that's super helpful is prep your fruits and veggies as soon as you get home from the store. Cut up your fruits, cut your vegetables, my celery and carrots right into sticks right away, and hard-boiled eggs. Those are super great too. If you boil them right away, it's something easy and quick to grab from the fridge. You have no excuse not to get those fruits and vegetables in. And that way they're in easy, grabbable size and prepped.
The life of convenience, right? You're adding to that. And it sounds like your husband has some great cooking tips. And so we'll be looking for a future invitation for dinner.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing with us today.
Nope.
Next, I'd like to move to Stephanie. Stephanie's with Out of the Woods Nutrition, and she has a focus on detoxification for this presentation, which is something else that goes along with our health and wellness. And she's going to have some great tips to share in her presentation. We're going to ask her a couple of questions as a teaser about that today. So, Stephanie, before we jump into some of those tips, can you tell us, how did you become aware of the importance of detox?
I have autoimmune disease, and it's very important in autoimmune disease. It's oftentimes a trigger for autoimmune disease when you are dealing with an overburden of toxins. So that was sort of the beginning for me, the opening of my eyes to how our environment can affect our body.
Wonderful. Thank you for your transparency on that, because it's probably something more of us have as a part of our lives, and we have a level of unawareness, right? And so let's dive into a little bit about detoxification. What is the biggest mistake that people make when they say that they're going to detox themselves?
I would say doing it without supporting the body. I mean, there's a lot of mistakes. I'm not a fan of people just doing a detox, like a Whole30. That's not really a detox. But if you are fasting and not removing those toxins properly, I talk about this in the presentation, juicing especially. There are 4 phases to detoxification. Most people really only talk about 2 of those. If you're only juicing and you're not allowing yourself adequate protein, which you need to help remove those toxins from your body, then you're going to redistribute those toxins into other tissues in your body. And we as mammals store toxins in our fat tissue. So if you're losing fat from either a healthy diet, lifestyle change, even from a detox, and you're not eliminating properly via sweat, urine, or feces, then those toxins are getting back into your tissues, and they can get back into your tissues in a more toxic form. So very, very, very important to do this with a qualified professional, always.
Wonderful. So a follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
What are some of the tips you should look at when you're working with a qualified professional? How do you know that someone is qualified to help you through this detox process? So it's not a one and done. It sounds like it could be an iterative approach depending on what you need to detox yourself from, correct?
Well, yeah. In general, we all are toxic. Like that's just how it is. We live and breathe and, eat food, and all of that stuff has some degree of toxicity to it. And so taking that stuff in is just a part of life. So can't do anything about that. But when you're talking to somebody who's going to put you on a detox, a lot of times, a lot of practitioners will use detox powders. They call them medical foods. And those are high in protein, so they do help. But what the research is showing is things like green tea extract is often thought of as a really great detoxification piece, but it's also been really well studied in cancer research in keeping when you're going through chemotherapy, you want to keep the chemo in the cell to kill the cancer. Well, green tea extract will keep the chemo in the cell, so it can't leave the cell. So if you're doing a detox powder that has green tea extract in it, well, are those toxins able to leave the cell? Because we know that it's been well studied that it actually will keep the toxins in the cell, because chemo is a toxin. So there isn't you wouldn't be able to Google that. You wouldn't be able to go into PubMed without knowing how to look for it. But it's stuff like that. Your practitioners should know about the 4 phases and how to make each phase work optimally. And that takes some time and research.
Wonderful. Thank you for those tips. We've learned a lot of things today, and we're thankful to have you as one of our speakers during the upcoming summit.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Kelly with River Yoga, how's it going today?
Good. How are you guys?
Fantastic. You have a very zen and very relaxing looking background right now, and it's actually making me want to go do something physical. Who knew?
Yeah, right.
Fantastic. So your presence is already working for us here.
Great.
I have a couple of questions for you because you have an interesting approach to your talk, and you are connecting the central nervous system or the CNS to the physical outlet of health and wellness. So
Mhm.
can you tell us a little bit about how the central nervous system plays in our overall health?
Yeah, it plays into what both Stephanie and Heather were talking about as far as toxins being in the body, flushing toxins out through what we're eating. All of those toxins also occur physically in that fight or flight reaction that our body will go through. So we can metabolize toxins and hold them in the cell, like Stephanie was saying, all the way through our central nervous system. And so if we are not familiar or close to or knowledgeable about that CNS, the central nervous system, they'll just sit there. So it's just, again, it's kind of what everyone was saying is, learning a little bit more, research a little bit more, becoming familiar and intimate with your own central nervous system so that you can learn how to release in your own way.
Fantastic. So one of the ways you talk about releasing some of the toxins and stress in our body is the appropriate use of breathing, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does that tie into stress reduction so it can help our overall health?
Yeah, very, very good question. So it's very, thank goodness, simple. Literally, the act of exhaling signals your heart to slow down. And that is it. That is the answer. So if you're not finding nice elongated exhales, your heart is never really getting that permission and that signal to tamper down a little bit. And so that when you go to a yoga class or practice yoga, and we always start like everybody does a long inhale, and then a long exhale. And then you do that and you go, I haven't done that in days, right? Because it's just not how we're breathing every day. And so that's what we like to just teach people, that very, very simple. You can do it any day, all day long. We just got to remind ourselves to do it. And that's how we can slow down the heart rate and then lower that stress and blood pressure.
I love it. I think you just heard a collective exhale across the Twin Cities as people are going to watch this.
I hope so.
the step one, right? The step one. Fantastic. We're excited to see your full presentation when the summit launches, and we're so glad that you are with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. This has been a blast.
I'm glad to hear it. So we have our foundress, I think that's the right word, right? Dr. Desiree Van Bogart started this summit series because she has a lot of knowledge about how the head and the heart work with your physical, mental, emotional health. And she wanted to find ways to connect with other people who are experts in their area and bring them together. And this time of year, what a perfect way to exhale collectively, be mindful of what we're putting into our minds and our bodies. And if it gets stuck, how do we release some of that, right?
Oh,
So,
definitely. Yep.
yeah, Desiree, you have some background training in neurology and have studied about its connection to stress. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So aside from, actually, a lot of people think chiropractors work just with the bones. And actually, we work with the spine. And the whole reason we work with the spine and moving those bones in the spine is because it's all linked to the nervous system. So all the nerves come from the brain, they go down that spine, and they branch out throughout the body. So every connection throughout your body, even going to your internal organs, going to all movement patterns, stems from that spine. So really in chiropractic, we focus on the nervous system. Even though it seems like we're moving bones, we're really addressing the nervous system when we do our treatments. I have delved into that a lot further to look at the neurology based on stress. So this is why Kelly is such a great presenter in this summit, because we're really focusing on this healthy aspect and keeping your stress down. And I think Heather really is going to hit the mark with that immune system, because it all comes back to what you feed your body to keep that nervous system healthy. And then of course, Stephanie with autoimmune, she's right on the mark, because when your body gets stressed out, that's when all those autoimmune diseases pop up. So this is really a great summit on getting that stress reduction, getting out of that flight or fight mode, and calming down that nervous system. So all these speakers and everything that we're doing actually is really central around that. And it's going to make a huge difference in how you feel, how you move, how you think. It's going to get rid of all this brain fog. It's going to be amazing if you take these tips and tricks that everyone here has to offer. So that's really exciting for me. That's my passion right there.
I love it. And you just, you had me at brain fog. I'm a mom, and my youngest just went off to college last fall. And suddenly I'm thinking a little more clearly, and I can do things for myself. So I'm super excited for all the talks in the summit, because I feel like whatever stage you're at in life, they can apply and you can learn something from them and take it forward for bettering your own health. I do have a follow-up question for you. As a chiropractor who is seeing patients in the clinic who are coming in because they have stress-related issues, right?
Yes.
What are some of the physical benefits that your patients see when they manage the distress on their bodies and they help release some of that?
Yeah. So number one is obviously chronic tension. The first thing that stress is going to hit is these muscles. You're going to feel just tense. And the second you go into this tense, curled up position, that's also going to activate that flight or flight response. You're going to be stuck in your sympathetics. You're going to feel not as excited. There's going to be more depression and anxiety because your heart rate's going to increase. So all these things are tied to your posture and how you're sitting and how your muscle tension. Then it goes straight into, if you're not feeling so great, chances are you're not eating so great. You're not doing the things and getting active like you should be. That kind of that depression or that, that down feeling, especially that we have here in Minnesota in the winter, really starts to set in. And this is where Stephanie's going to play into, because she really hits those autoimmune disorders. She knows that the second you start getting all of these issues, it all starts with kind of this chronic tension and then just escalates into something worse, into disease. So the first thing that we really focus on with our patients is making sure that they get loosened up. Second thing is that they have to get lengthened up. We have to lengthen that spine and keep their posture good so they're not in this rolled up position. And once this happens, it just feels like the weight of everything, that weight of the world just lifts off your shoulders. It's an amazing feeling. And then our third step is going to be more of that strengthening phase, which Kelly knows really well, that you have to strengthen the core and keep that spine healthy, keep those muscles strong so you don't keep rolling back in and having this old crunched up kind of that granny hump posture. So that's really what we focus on, is those three phases to get people in the perfect position so they can stay as healthy as possible.
Fantastic. Well, ladies, thank you so much for your gift of time today. Collectively, you're all bringing a holistic picture to the importance of health and wellness. And we're so excited that you have chosen to participate with us with the Stomp Out Stress Virtual Summit to help entrepreneurs, whether you're an entrepreneur in your home or you're in the community or a larger scale global perspective. The tips and tricks that you have can apply to everyone who takes part in the summit. So on behalf of Dr. Desiree, thanks for your participation, and we look forward to launching your talks on January 19th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.